Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, Counter Spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Well, we're going to hear an hour's worth of Bob Bailey this hour as yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Now, we've talked about Bob in the past and the number of shows that he did, and probably he is best known for portraying Johnny Dollar. Not only in the quarter-hour shows, but also in half-hour shows that ran until CBS, in their infinite wisdom, decided that radio shows needed to originate out of New York. And Bob Bailey wasn't going to move. So he stayed in Hollywood. And here we hear an episode from Hollywood from Sunday, June 8th, 1958. This is a weird one. Well, not a weird one. It's really a sad one. It's entitled The Wayward River Matter.
From Hollywood, it's time now for...
Johnny Dollar.
Johnny, this is Lee Harkins, Continental Insurance and Trust Company.
Lee, my old fishing pal. You still holding down the Ohio branch of the company there in Columbus?
Yes, John, I am, but now look here.
Well, brother, I never will forget the great fishing you and I had over on Darby Creek a couple of years back.
Look, John.
And along about this time every year, the urge really gets to me. Hey, have the streams cleared up yet from the spring rains?
No, quite the contrary. As a matter of
How
fact...
about Little Raccoon Creek down near Jackson? Boy, remember those big channel cats and the bass?
Johnny, will you listen to me?
Huh? Oh, sure, I'm all ears.
The big river has gone on a rampage again. Spring floods.
You mean the Ohio?
Yes, and every other river of any size. The rains are still coming down.
I see.
Whole towns are being washed away by the floodwaters. Death and destruction all over.
Oh, I'm sorry, Lee. I didn't mean to sound so... Well, mention fishing and I lose my head.
Look, Johnny, I need you out here. Can you come right away?
Well, sure.
You see, any fishing we do may be for the bodies of people.
Bob Bailey in the exciting adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to the Continental Insurance and Trust Company, Columbus, Ohio office. Following is an account of expenses incurred during my investigation of the Wayward River Matter. Expense account item 1, $43.50, transportation to New York, then a flagship to Columbus, Ohio. It was 5:30 p.m. and raining hard when the big four-engine plane set down gently at Port Columbus Airport, some 7 miles out of town. My plan was to go into the Fort Hayes Hotel and call Lee Harkins from there. So after picking up my luggage, I headed for the door in a taxi stand. But Lee, it seems, had other ideas.
Here, let me help you with your
Ah,
bags.
it's all right, son. I'm just looking for a taxi to... Lee!
My car's right out here, Johnny. The sooner we get started, the better. Here now, right through this door.
Yeah, well, wait. The sooner we get started, where? Where are we going?
To the town of Carteret, about 100 miles or so south. Now, come on, if you don't want to get soaked.
Oh, hey!
Come on!
Whatever you say.
Come on now, I'll hop in.
Oh, brother. Phew. Why didn't you tell me to bring a raincoat?
Why don't you read the papers?
Been raining like this for long?
Off and on for 3 or 4 weeks. We may have a mean ride ahead of us.
Well, what's it all about, Lee?
Well, the floods along the Ohio have been pretty severe this year, Johnny. They've been somewhat later than usual.
Yeah, that much I did read about.
Half a dozen of the big cities have been taking a real beating, in spite of all their preparations for the big runoff.
I know. It's been true all over the country.
Well, what you don't read about in the headlines, though, is the little places, like Carteret. It's my old hometown, Johnny. I've sold a lot of policies there, particularly to the local shopkeepers, on their stocks and merchandise.
So there's been a lot of flood damage, and your company's having to pay up a lot of claims.
No, not yet. So far, the town's been lucky. Most of the recent bad storms have been across the state line, up in Pennsylvania or over in West Virginia. The same was true last year and the year before. So the people down around Carteret, farmers mostly, haven't gone ahead with their flood control project the way they should have.
Is Carteret right on the Ohio?
No, it's in a valley, a few miles north. It's It's on the Crooked River, and parts of the town are actually below the riverbank. Now, you see what that means.
Yeah, I sure can.
Most of the year, it's a quiet, lazy stream about 50 or 60 feet wide. But when the feeder streams up in the hills start pouring water down...
And if it overflows?
Half the town will go with it and swept right down into the Ohio.
Lee, don't they know enough to prepare for this sort of thing?
Johnny, like I say, they've been lucky so far. But this present storm has been bigger and longer than anything they've ever had.
Well, what about the State Flood Control Commission, or whatever it's called? Can't they do anything?
Look, let's face it. What's a little bird like Carteret when there are 100 bigger and more important towns in the same fix?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Before the lines went down, I got a call from Fred Norlock, one of my big accounts down there. Big hardware firm. Unless the river goes down, he's going to lose the whole place. That means over a $100,000 insurance claim.
But what can I possibly do, Lee?
I don't know, Johnny. I just don't know.
We were heading south on Route 23, and by the time we reached Chillicothe, the rain had led up to a drizzle. By the time we reached Jackson, where we left the main highway, it had let up entirely. But I noticed that every little stream we passed was overflowing its banks. Finally, it must have been after midnight, we pulled up on a low hill overlooking the town of Carteret. And it started to rain again. To rain hard. Below us, the Crooked River was a terrible, terrifying thing to watch. Power lines were out, but maybe hundreds of kerosene and gasoline lanterns, flashlights, and lights from cars showed only too plainly the perils of the brown, rushing, raging torrent that threatened the town. Men stripped to the waist, the banker and the ditch digger side by side, the farmer and the merchant toiled frantically to reinforce the levee with bags of sand, stone, cement, anything they could find, while the river lapped hungrily at their feet, trying to undermine the embankment as quickly as it was built up. Back of them were others, filling the sandbags, bulldozing additional strength to the levee, hauling truckloads of sand and rock and gravel, digging, shoveling, filling, anything they could do. I'd never seen a more dedicated group of people. Men, women, children, all working in a common cause. Not just for themselves, but for the survival of their neighbors, their town. And the ugly river was like a thing alive, clawing at them, seeking to destroy them. Huge, floating masses of debris flew by at express train speed, whirling now and then to strike out at the embankment, fighting to break it down. Thousands of tons of wreckage, parts of houses, chicken coops, trees, and brush, anything that would float. I stood there appalled and almost overwhelmed by a feeling of utter helplessness.
Can't they see? If they were up here on this hill, they could see that they're losing ground, Johnny. The river's rising faster than they can build up the levee.
Yeah, Lee, yeah, it looks that way.
What's the matter with you guys? Can't you see they need help down there? Anybody doesn't help, I'll be shot.
Oh, he's right, Johnny. We ought to go down there and help for whatever it's worth.
Wait. That one section where they're all working.
It's right above the cut into Perry Street. If the levee goes there, it'll sweep the whole section down the valley into the Ohio River.
But look, Lee. Look, back there, behind us. The reason why the water's piling up, don't you see? That old railroad bridge. The trees, the mud, the rubble that's piled up against it. That railroad trestle has become a regular dam.
Hey, you're right.
The more of that debris piling up there, the stronger it gets.
And the higher it gets, too. With the water mounting up behind it that way, the levee over Perry Street will go in a matter of minutes.
Right. But break that dam somehow, and the water will get through. Down the Crooked River into the Ohio.
Yeah. Break that dam, and it'll save the town.
Yes.
Oh, but how, Johnny? How?
Yeah, how?
Act two of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, in a moment.
June 8th, 1958, yours truly, Johnny Dollar, on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
You ever make a change and then think, why didn't I do this years ago? Well, that's how people feel about switching to Medishare for their health care, especially now with inflation the way it is. People are very happy with the savings. Most families save about $500 a month when they switch. It's a huge help when prices are going up so fast in so many other areas. And Medishare's customer satisfaction rate is double that of health insurance. It's just a different experience, and people really like that. Medishare is an alternative to health insurance. It's a community of Christians who share each other's healthcare bills, and it's been going strong for over 25 years. It really is the gold standard, the most trusted name in healthcare sharing. Find out why people love it. Find out why they rave about the customer service and find out how good it feels to save some money right now. They're super easy to talk to. Here's the number, 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE, 833-34-BIBLE.
I don't know exactly why, but it seems like almost all of the quarter-hour shows of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, we've been able to find where there's been minimal requirement to do a lot of tweaking and audio repair on them. And but all those quarter-hour shows, so many of them we still have today. The half-hour shows, not so much. Fortunately, the ones we have been through some personal recordings from some people in some of the stations that were still listening to them, where they were still running the shows on Sunday afternoons. And some of them are from Armed Forces radio recordings. So we've been very fortunate that we still have a large number of yours truly, Johnny Dollar shows available for us to bring to you. It's just, and we still keep finding them. See, that's one of the things I try to explain to people, is that just because we have all these old shows, that doesn't mean that there's not more hiding around the corner. We unearthed a large number not long ago, within the last 4 or 5 years, of episodes of the original masters of some of the Jack Benny shows. And that was just a wonderful treasure trove. So we found those last few years when they were being transcribed, when Jack was going on television live, just after his radio show got off the air. Alrighty, and that's why those were transcribed, and plus they made much better shows. June 8th, 1958, yours truly, Johnny Dollar, and the Wayward River Matter on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
And now, Act Two of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, and the Wayward River Matter.
From our vantage point on the hill above the little town of Carteret, we could see why the Crooked River was rising so fast, threatening to engulf the town.
You're right, Johnny. The debris against the old railroad trestle has made a dam.
And somehow we've got to break that dam. But how? Lee.
Yeah?
Any stores down there, any of them carry dynamite?
Yeah, down there on Perry Street. Norlock Supply Company.
Then come on.
Norlock, one of my biggest clients. If the levee breaks, his place will take the brunt of the flood. There, you see down there? He has men putting sandbags around it.
They won't mean a thing if the levee goes. Why doesn't he send those men back on up to the river's edge where they can do some good?
Johnny, he's the only man in town looking after his personal property. The only one selfish enough to... Say, listen, he's also the man who's always opposed doing something about this river.
Save your breath, Lee. We've got to get down there and get some dynamite. The groups we passed, still vainly trying to chink up holes in the levee, all but spat on us as we passed. Because we weren't working with them, trying to save their town from the raging Crooked River, or so they thought. Finally, we slogged our way to the Norlock Supply Company on Perry Street.
More sand. Faster! Fill those bags and get on around my place. The levee goes, it'll all come down here. More sandbags, more!
Oh, you're crazy, Mr. Norlock. You're wasting your time.
What? Mr. Harkins.
Why, if that levee goes, nothing will save this place of yours.
He's right, Norlock. Get your men on up to the levee where they'll do some good.
Sure, but then you'll pay the insurance of my place is swept away.
It won't be if we save the town. We need dynamite.
Who are you?
Oh, this is Johnny Dollar.
Insurance investigator? What are you doing here?
Look, there's no time to stand around and talk. We need dynamite, a lot of it.
What for?
Well, the wreckage from up the river. It's jammed against the old railroad trestle south of town. And it's made a regular dam. That's what's backing up the water.
I know, I've seen. You gonna blow that up?
That's right. Now, where's the dynamite?
Anybody go out on that trestle with the pressure of the river against it, he's crazy. Any part of that goes, he'll go with it, he'll be killed.
He's right, mister. Be suicide to go up there.
Come on, let's have the dynamite. And you men, get up above where you can help.
Now you wait
Load that truck with all the bags you can, but get up there fast.
If it's but my place here, what about my soul?
Norlock, where's that dynamite?
I won't give it to you.
Oh, listen, Mr. Norlock.
I refuse. It'd be suicide for you to go out on that railroad trestle.
But if we don't, the whole town will go.
And I tell you, Mr. Dollar, are you threatening to shoot me? Put that away.
Oh, Johnny, wait.
Let me handle this, Lee.
You're crazy, Dollar. Put that gun away.
All right, Norlock, it's up to you.
What do you mean?
Unless you give us the dynamite, I'll blast the lock off this place of yours and get it myself. Well?
All right. In here. But I tell you, you're mad.
I was no lock mad. A victim of the panic that all too often seizes a man when the going gets tough. But he did give us the dynamite. Then, with two of his workmen, Lee Harkins and I trudged through the mud and the night loaded with cases of dynamite, back to the old railroad trestle. And when we got there, I wondered if maybe Norlock wasn't right after all. If it wouldn't be suicide to go out on it. The pileup of debris against it was huge. Back of it, the deadly brown water swirled and eddied, throwing telegraph poles, railroad ties, huge trees pounding against it, battering at the old framework of the trestle. If only they'd strike hard enough to break it down, break the dam. Perhaps they would. By that time, the town of Carteret would be lost. Yes, somebody had to do this job, and it looked like I'd elected myself. I'm not quite clear on what happened during that next 20 or 30 minutes. They seemed like 30 years of nightmare. But I edged my way out on that rickety framework, a fused case of dynamite under my arm. It was dark, and I had to feel my way along over planks and boards and trees that the force of the water had thrown up on the trestle. The wires leading back to the plunger that would set off the charge would catch and drag. But I knew I had to reach the first long span to make the explosive do its work. And all the while, the old bridge creaked and groaned and shook from the impact of the wreckage being thrown against it by the angry water. But then, finally, the job was done, and I felt my way back to the bank.
Hurry, Johnny! Hurry!
Yeah, I'm coming. Everything ready here.
Don't you see? The levee above. It's starting to go. Back over the town, there's a gap. The water's rushing.
Okay, Lee, the plunger.
Yes, sir. All ready.
All right, then lie down. Quick, get down. Here she goes. The charge of dynamite on the old railroad bridge had broken the dam that the angry river had thrown up against it. Had released the little town from the threat of being washed down the valley into the Ohio River. The men and women and children, spent from having struggled against the raging water throughout the night and all the day before, went quietly back to their homes and farms to rest and sleep. And nature, defeated, gave up. The rain stopped and the skies cleared. Even the charging yellow waters of the crooked river seemed to diminish in a sort of frustration. What damage had been done to the town could wait now until the people were rested, refreshed. As Lee Harkins and I plodded wearily over to the village inn, I noticed that the streets were deserted. Yeah, even as the long gray fingers of dawn reached up into the sky, the town, exhausted, slept. Unmindful of the rooster in someone's backyard who sought to rouse it. Nor did we rouse the innkeeper, but picked a couple of rooms and settled down to rest our weary bones. But I couldn't sleep. Somewhere in the back of my brain, a little worry began to form, to peck away at me. In all of Carteret the night before, there'd been one man, and one man only, who'd ignored the common good to look after his own selfish interests. I went into Lee's room and awakened him.
Oh, no, Johnny, later.
Come on.
I'm so dead I can hardly go back to sleep.
No, come on. Just a couple of questions, Lee. Listen to me.
Oh, why didn't you let me sleep?
Over 100,000 insurance, you said.
Yeah, 100 and... I don't know.
Well, if you ask me, that's too much for a business of any kind in a town this size. Much too much.
So maybe I gave him a break on his valuation.
Yeah.
You know, to help sign up some of the other merchants.
But 100,000 of insurance money would give him enough to live on the rest of his life.
Oh, now, look, why don't you go back to bed, Johnny?
Lee, he knew about that dam at the railroad trestle. And so far as I could see, he was the only one who did.
Well, everybody else was so busy at the levee.
But did he try to do anything about it? No. Instead, he went through the motions of trying to protect his property. But he knew that if that levee broke, nothing would save it.
All right. Chalk it up to panic.
Panic, huh? He fought to keep us from getting that dynamite, the one thing that could save the town. He kept those workmen away from where they might have done some good, at the levee. He alone wanted that levee to break.
But good heavens, Johnny, Well, you're right. You must be.
Yeah, I'm right. I'm going out and look for Mr. Fred Norlock.
Yeah, but there isn't a soul out there. Everybody's...
Maybe. That's what I want to find out.
It was November 27th, 1960, that Bob Bailey gave up the role of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, when the show moved to New York. Bruno Zeratos Jr., staff producer who directed TV game shows for CBS, took over Dollar. Former child actor Bob Reddick took over the leading role and then was replaced by Mandel Kramer, who, for my mind, was just about as good as Bob Bailey and did a wonderful job. And you hear him on the Counter Spy programs from back earlier in that decade. The conclusion of the Wayward River Matter when Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox continues in a moment.
Radio? Why should I advertise on radio? There's nothing to look at, no pictures.
Listen, you can do things on radio you couldn't possibly do on TV.
That'll be the day.
All right, watch this. Okay, people, and now when I give you the cue, I want the 700-foot mountain of whipped cream to roll into Lake Michigan, which has been drained and filled with hot chocolate. Then the Royal Canadian Air Force will fly overhead towing a 10-ton maraschino cherry, which will be dropped into the whipped cream to the cheering of 25,000 extras. All right, cue the mountain. Cue the Air Force. Cue the maraschino cherry. Okay, 25,000 cheering extras. Now, you want to try that on television?
Well...
You see, radio is a very special medium because it stretches the imagination.
Doesn't television stretch the imagination?
Up to 27 inches, yes.
She was born in a humble shack amidst the lemon groves of Goleta, California.
Mommy, don't cry. You know what they say?
When life gives you lemons, make lemonade.
I was gonna say life sucks, and then you die. But I like yours better.
And with that, Alexandra Johnson launched her lemonade stand.
Lemonade, nickel a glass.
Every day, even during the frigid California winters, a bone-chilling 72 degrees, you could find her.
You can have a sour, you can have a sweet. Little girl's lemonade will knock you off your feet.
The little girl with the sour brew wanted more, national distribution, franchises, and so she rolled out a well-budgeted advertising campaign.
Me and the rest of the dock workers only drink little girl lemonade.
She was made president of the International Sour Drink Association and chosen to give the keynote speech at their convention.
You all set with words of wisdom, honey?
You know what they say, Mommy.
Always advertise so consumers think of your product first.
I was gonna say never swallow a lemon seed or a watermelon on your tummy.
This fabricated but interesting story is to remind you that it's called advertising and it works.
Put your message on this national advertising platform by emailing classicradiotheater@gmail.com. classicradiotheater@gmail.com. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, of course, as we have mentioned before. It was September 30th, 1962, that old-time radio sort of went away with the last episode of Suspense and Mandel Kramer as yours truly, Johnny Dollar. But right now, we're going to have for you the conclusion of this yours truly, Johnny Dollar story, The Wayward River Matter, originally broadcast June 8th, 1958.
I found Fred Norlock, alone, up on the inner bank, the riverside of the levee, where anyone down below couldn't see him. And he was working with a shovel, a crowbar. Beside him was a pile of dynamite. I'd given him that idea. All right, Norlock, lay down that shovel. The river didn't do it the way you planned last night, did it?
Maybe not. Because of you, but you're not going to stop me now.
Oh, now put that thing down.
I'll kill you, Dollar, if you come any closer. And nobody'll know because there's nobody around. I'll throw your body in the river. Nobody'll ever know.
Sure. Set up a small charge, enough to breach the levee.
That's right. It's all ready, and you can't stop it.
And the river will crash through, destroy that failing business of yours down there.
Yes.
And take with it the homes in the valley, the livestock, maybe even the people.
Keep your hand away from that pocket.
So it's you or me, huh? And if I go, the town goes too.
Yes.
But if I can outdraw you...
This pistol is aimed at your chest. Now you walk straight ahead to the edge of the river. Walk! Johnny!
What?
Now! Now!
Oh, yes! Norlock's body was never recovered. He'd lived alone. He died alone. A crooked man in the crooked river. Nor was he mourned in the little town he'd tried to destroy. Expense account total, including transportation back to Hartford, $100 even. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Next week, the Delectable Damsel Matter. I hope you like it. I know I did. Join us, won't you? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, originates in Hollywood and is produced and directed by Jack Johnstone, who also wrote today's story. Heard in our cast were Chet Stratton, Frank Gerstle, Bob Bruce, and Parley Bear. Special sound patterns by Tom Hanley and Bill James. Be sure to join us next week, same time and station, for another exciting story of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. This is Roy Rowan speaking.
From June 8th, 1958, yours truly, Johnny Dollar on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Don't go away, because we'll have another yours truly, Johnny Dollar story, the conclusion of the Indestructible Mike Matter, following these important messages.
Are you suffering with arthritis or osteoporosis? Do you have diabetes? Did you know that these are just two of the hundreds of diseases that have seen improvement with Dr. Wallach's incredible longevity products? You can't get them at a health food store. The only way to get them is to call us at 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Do you have heart disease, fibromyalgia, or high blood pressure? Do you have a terrible time losing weight? Dr. Wallach can help. He was a veterinarian and cured diseases in animals. He felt that he could do the same for humans, so he became a physician. Over 50 years of research and helping people like you goes into every bottle of Dr. Wallach's amazing discoveries. Do you want to feel better? Learn how to treat the cause of your problem rather than covering up the symptoms with drugs. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, the wind-up. Part 5 of the yours truly Johnny Dollar story, The Indestructible Mike Matter. This episode originally broadcast on June 8th, 1956, and Mike portrayed by delightful man Howard McNear.
From Hollywood, it's time now for...
Johnny Dollar.
Randy Singer, Johnny. How you feeling?
Thanks to you and having got me here, pretty good.
Bellevue's a good hospital.
I'll be released within the hour, so will Mike Flynn.
And?
I'm going down to the Glad Hand Rescue Mission to straighten out a few things with Daddy Bill.
Sounds to me like it ought to be police business, Johnny. I'll be right over.
No, let me handle this alone.
You got your gun?
You bet your sweet life I have.
Johnny?
I'll report to you later.
Tonight and every weekday night, Bob Bailey in the transcribed adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar, location New York City, to the Lakeside Life and Casualty Company. Following is an accounting of expenditures incurred during my investigation of the Indestructible Mike Matter. Item 16, 190, cab fare for Mike Flynn and myself, Bellevue Hospital to the dingy Hotel Brakely. Both of us had our heads still swathed in bandages. With the help of the room clerk, I installed Mike in a small room on the 5th floor, with instructions to keep his door locked. In my own room, room 203, I picked up my .38 and donned the old clothes I'd bought. Item 17, 55 cents, taxi to the neighborhood of the Glad Hand Rescue Mission. For obvious reasons, I walked the last couple of blocks. When I got there, the big front assembly room was empty. So was the soup kitchen in the back of the place. I called Daddy Bill's name a couple of times and got no answer. And finally decided to wait for him in the little room back of the assembly hall that he used for an office. I still felt a little shaky from the blow on the head, so I didn't mind just sitting a while. But I left the door open a crack, and a few minutes later heard the street door open. It wasn't Daddy Bill, but I recognized him as a newcomer to the mission whom I'd seen on my first visit. He made directly for the little office.
All ready, Daddy. Why, you ain't Daddy Bill, sir.
No. Do you know where he is?
Yeah, out shopping. At least that's where he said he was going.
Didn't I see you in here the other day?
Why, yes, sir. I guess you did. My name's Emery. I just read the rods in from Ohio. Boy, I had to. I got myself in a jam back there. Yeah, I guess I just got me too much muscle. But they won't catch up with me here. Daddy Bill promised me that. Say, I should have known you wasn't him in here.
Oh?
Sure, he said he wouldn't be back for another hour.
You plan to wait for him?
Sure do. He promised me a job, with money on it. Enough money, he said, to get clear out of the country, and he'd help me do it.
Doesn't it strike you funny, Bud, that a guy running a place like this would help you skip the country?
Man, when you're like me and you get a helping hand, you just don't ask no questions. You see Mike?
Mike Flynn?
Yeah, he come back?
No, why?
Daddy Bill left me a package for him. For him or Johnny if they come back here.
Well, I'm Johnny.
Well, here, I'll get it. It's right outside the door here. Yes, sir. Liquor, he said. And maybe you let me have some. Here, see?
I'll take it. Liquor, did you say?
That's what he said. Let's open, huh?
No, hands off.
Well, look here, man. Old Mike always shares his stuff with Lefty Skillman.
Lefty Skillman. It was Lefty who'd run us down with a truck whose body was found in the river. Lefty, one of Daddy Bill's poor unfortunates here at the mission. Things were beginning to add up, and this package left for Mike and me. Liquor, he said, but it didn't gurgle. Emery, listen to me.
Sure, Johnny, but
forget this package. I'm taking it with me back to the Waldorf.
Waldorf?
Yeah, that's right. That's where I'm staying. Don't let these clothes fool you.
I thought there was something funny about you, the way you talk so fine. You a dick?
Never mind. If Daddy Bill wants me, that's where I'll be. Old Mikey won't find, because I got him in room 203 at the Brakely Hotel.
Room 203?
Forget it. He's still recovering from that accident. Shouldn't be disturbed. He's all doped up anyway. That's why I took him to the Brakely, where nobody will find him.
Yeah, room
I said forget about that room 203. If Daddy Bill wants me, tell him to call me at the Waldorf. Item 18, 10 cents. Phone call from a booth in the street to Sergeant Randy Singer. Item 19, $5 even for a fast but gentle taxi ride to the 18th precinct, where Randy had promised to have the lab boys alerted for me.
Is this it, Johnny?
Yeah, and handle it softly, please.
Okay. You gonna stick around till
No, I'm going back to the Brakely to make sure Mike is all right.
Yeah, now look here, Johnny.
Call the Waldorf for me. Get me registered there. Instruct the desk that if there are any calls for me, I'm eating lunch or something, and I'll be back in my room in, say, an hour.
What?
Do it. I'll see you later. Item 19, taxi back to the Brakely Hotel, to the service entrance in the alley. For $5, the freight elevator operator swore he'd tell no one he'd seen me take the back stairs to room 203. My room, not Mike's, as I told Emery at the mission. Room clerk,
That's right.
this is Johnny Dollar in 203.
Oh, yes. Are you still working on
Now listen,
that case?
listen carefully. If the police call me, put them through.
Very well.
But to anyone else who calls or comes looking for me, I'm not here. I never was here. You never heard of me, understand?
Oh, yes, indeed, Mr. Dollar. We've worked with police and private investigators before.
Okay, but if anybody wants to know about Mike Flynn, I want...
Flynn?
Yeah, the old bum I had you put in the room up on the 5th floor.
Oh, yes.
If anybody asks for him, tell him he's in this room, 203.
Oh, very well.
You sure you got that straight?
Yes, sir.
Time was on my side, I hoped. Emery back at the mission had said Daddy Bill wouldn't return for an hour, but I couldn't be sure. As quickly as I could, I spilled a half bottle of whiskey around the room in the hope it would give the effect old Mike was there. Then I pulled down all the shades and drew the drapes tight across the windows. I turned down the bed and mussed up the covers so it would be ready for me. My watch said I still had time to kill, so I ran upstairs to Mike's room on the 5th, and carrying a 5th.
Well, bless my soul, Johnny. And look what you brought me.
On one condition, Mike.
Oh, yes. Oh, anything you say. Oh, you've been so good to me.
I want you to promise that no matter what happens, you'll stay right here in this room until I come back.
Why,
for
of
you.
course, Johnny. Anything you say. Especially now that you brought me this bottle to kind of keep me company. Say, wouldn't you like a little nip before you go?
No, thanks. Oh, and keep this door locked.
Oh, now you sure you wouldn't like just one little bit?
No.
Oh, I hate to think of me having it all alone when you probably need it as much as I do now. Oh, say, Johnny.
Yeah?
When are you and I going to be able to take these awful-looking bandages off our heads?
We'll talk about that later. I got to get back to my room.
Yeah, now you sure I can't tempt
I'm
you?
sure. Now lock this door.
All right, Johnny. But if you decide you want a little nip with me...
Quickly and quietly, I went back downstairs to 203 and cautiously let myself in, leaving the door unlocked. Nobody been there. I'd made it in time. But now all I could do was wait.
Hello? Johnny?
Yeah, Randy. Better make it fast.
Oh, what's the matter?
What'd you call about?
That pretty little package you dropped off for the lab lads?
Yeah?
You sure were right about it.
A bomb, huh?
If you or Mike had opened that package by now, you'd be spread all over the island in tiny little pieces. Look, Johnny, come on, let me in on it, huh? What are you up to down there?
I'll tell you when it's all over. That is, if what I think is going to happen does happen.
You sure you don't want some help?
No, I think I can... Gotta go. I'd heard footsteps out in the hall. Quickly, I slid into the bed, leaving nothing but my heavily bandaged head showing. The footsteps passed. And then, far down the corridor, I heard a door open and close. I lay still and waited. And lying there thinking, I began to wonder if I'd been right in turning down Randy's offer of help. Yet how could he help without... Footsteps again. And this time they stopped outside my door.
It's all clear out here in the hall.
That voice was Daddy Bill's, and he wasn't alone.
Mike? Mike? You want on the light? Mike? Oh, he's in here, all right. Smell that booze?
He's there on the bed, asleep.
You mean drunk?
Close door. Hey, see him? Dead to the world.
Are you sure this is going to be safe, Dutchie?
Why do you suppose I took so long to case the joint?
Yeah, but what about Dollar?
I told you, Bill, at the Waldorf.
You sure? You talked to him?
No, he was in the coffee shop. Now, shut up, get this over with.
Yes. Always we do the dirty work for you.
All right, this one I'll do myself.
Well, who's...
Shut up.
Johnny. Oh, Johnny.
Wait a minute, that's Mike.
And who's on that bed?
Shut up. All right, Dollar. You can get up out of that bed and take it in the chest or lay there and get it in the back.
All right, Cosgrave. Dutchie.
Both hands up high. Drop that gun.
Sure.
Johnny.
Shut him up out there, Bill.
Yeah, Daddy Bill.
Quiet, Dollar.
You'd better do something, Cosgrave. You have two witnesses. The man who always kept his skirts clean, huh?
Quiet. Bill, let him in. We'll knock them both off, make it look like a fight between them. Something...
No, wait, boss.
Johnny, is something... I'm coming in.
Oh, no, you
Get back, Mike! Randy.
Hey, you're real rough, aren't you? Now, wait a minute there, Mike. Get up off his chest. I want to see what your dear friend Daddy Bill looks like.
Oh,
What'd you hit him with, anyway?
oh dear. The poor bottle's all broken.
Best thing could happen to you, Mike.
So this is Dutchy Gordon, alias J. Wesley Cosgrave.
He won't be for long.
What? Well, what's that, Daddy Bill? You feeling better?
He always hung it on somebody else.
What are you talking about?
Lefty, shorty, all of them. This one he'd have hung on me. Well, not this time.
That gun!
Look out! Thanks! Put it down!
Randy?
Cosgrave, dead as a doornail. And when Daddy Bill comes to after that sock on the chin, you can tell him he's cooked his own goose.
My.
The world will be a bit better without Dutchy Gordon, alias J. Wesley Cosgrave. And, of course, the courts will take care of Daddy Bill Larkin. Plenty. Mike? Indestructible Mike? Well, he'll probably outlive the rest of us. I hope I can get down to see him now and then. Talk over our great adventure together. Expense account total, $1,126.50, which is a lot less than the $50,000 you might have had to pay off on Mike. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Now, here's our star to tell you about next week's intriguing story.
Next week, the heady romance of moonlight on a lonely beach in Mexico. Moonlight from a killer's moon. Join us, won't you? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, is transcribed in Hollywood. It is produced and directed by Jack Johnstone, who also wrote this story. Heard in this week's cast were Howard McNair, Lawrence Dobkin, Harry Bartell, Herb Vigran, Alan Reed, and Roy Glenn. Musical supervision by Amerigo Marino and Carl Fortina. Be sure to join us on Monday night, same time and station, for another exciting story of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Roy Rowan speaking.
And there you have it, June 8th, 1956, yours truly, Johnny Dollar, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. If you would, please thank this radio station and support their advertisers. It is their kindness and courtesy that allows us to be with you each and every time we roll around here on your favorite radio station. If you miss a day, you do not have to miss a single episode of Classic Radio Theater. You can find our shows at Spotify, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, Amazon. Just search for Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. That's Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. And as always, we ask you come visit my webpage, classicradio.stream. There you can stream our shows on demand. You can learn about building a classic radio collection of your own. You can find our social media links. You can contact me there, and you can also buy me a coffee if you want. I'd love it. And listen, tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.